Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Running Journey. This one's a bit of a different one. We're bringing in a special guest. So, as you might know, I have my Ultra 50 miler coming in less than 2 weeks, and it's in Houston, Texas. It's the Rocky 50, and I'm doing that, and I'm bringing a crew with me. I've had a coach, Patrick Peacock, that I've referenced many times before on this show, who's really helped me out a lot. And we always do this call about 2 weeks out before every major race. And he always gives me guidance as to what I can expect and get me started thinking about the last kind of things I need to know. And today I thought I'd bring him in and we'd let you guys share in that moment, share in that call. I'm really excited to bring him in. So, by the way, this guy is a phenomenal coach. He's taken me from, well, obviously I couldn't run. He's built my program. Every single day he communicates with me. Every single day he reviews my run, gives me feedback, asks me how I'm doing. We talk or chat every single day. He's fantastic. If you're looking for a coach, we'll plug his info in there. But let's, without further ado, let's bring him in here. He's in the waiting room. Let's bring in my coach and the guy who's got me qualified for the Boston Marathon, Patrick Peacock. Patrick, let me bring him in.
Welcome to the running journey. Welcome to the running journey.
Welcome to the running journey.
Welcome
to the running journey. Running journey, yeah. Welcome to The Running Journey, a transformative podcast telling the story of two brothers faced with a very tough time in their lives that decided to do something about it, get healthy, get fit, and start jogging. The Running Journey will take you through half marathons, Ironmans, ultramarathons, and their attempt at qualifying for the Boston Marathon.
Don't forget 5Ks. Sorry.
We're certainly not going to forget 5Ks, Charlie. This is The Running Journey. Listen to us while you run.
That's a great idea.
Okay, I think we have our intro. All right, thanks for joining me, Patrick, Coach Patrick. Thrilled to have you here today. I was actually looking at my calendar the other day, and I think yesterday was the 1 year anniversary of us working together. It's our 1 year anniversary. It's romantic.
Well, congratulations on making it a year.
Yeah. I reached out because I didn't know what I was doing, and I was like, oh, I need help, and I needed discipline, and I needed someone to tell me exactly what to do. I was willing to do it. I just needed someone to tell me what to do. So I'm glad you were there. It's been a great year for me with you. So thank you. You've had a big piece of that. Or you've been a big piece of my success. And I'm thankful that you've been along with me for the ride. Are you still taking clients, by the way, or no? I don't even know.
I am close to my limits. There's a little bit of space there. I've got a couple that are nibbling around the edge that are looking at some late summer races, but yeah, there's usually room for the right people.
Okay. So today the idea is really, I have my race next week. I'm doing my ultra. This is my first ultra. So basically I had kind of three things on my mind that I can think of that I wanted to discuss, and then whatever else you have in terms of advice. But, or do you want to start anywhere specific, or do you want me just to get into my questions?
If you have specific questions, let's go from there. And then I have a list of things to sort of consider and think about as we get into the day. But let's let you take the lead here.
Okay. So my first question is a simple one, and I think I know what you'll say, but I'm asking anyways. Footwear. I have a pair of trail shoes that I've worn a few times outside. They're cozy. They're comfortable. They got a wide box. They're called Ultras, ALTRAs. I've worn them. I've done maybe 25K on them. I mean, I did way less mileage on my Alpha Flies when I did my first marathon. So
yeah, I'm
thinking of just wearing those for the first loop and then bring in two pairs, bring in like my Alphas in the event that it's like I'm able to use them, and then bringing something more like, no, don't bring those.
Alphas will give you no traction. You'd be slipping and sliding. If you get a little bit of precipitation that day, you're in big trouble. I would stick with a trail shoe, knowing how muddy and rooty the course is.
Okay. Yeah. And then
over like the 50K, or sorry, over 80K, like 50 miles, which is what you're doing, you're probably going to be okay with one pair. I've done lots of point-to-point runs where you don't have the option of switching shoes. But knowing that you've only got a little bit of mileage in those other shoes, I would bring a second pair, knowing you've got 3 loops, so you have that chance to change a couple of times. So,
Right.
But I would look for another trail shoe.
Right. Okay. So then basically, I would keep kind of one of my cozy, comfortable pairs as a backup for whatever reason, if it's not going well with those. Okay. And then my second question was going to be, and this is probably the bigger one, because you've been very good at kind of having an idea of what I could do for my races. Like, I think when I did my Killarney half, I think you gave me really, really good pacing direction. And you're like, you know what, start out at this. And if it's going good, you can pump up the pace, try for a negative split, try to beat 140. I think you had told me. And that's kind of where I came in at. And then for my marathon, for all my marathons, you've been good at guiding me, because I really don't know what I should be doing for pacing here, because I've never done an ultra. Have you ever done an ultra? No, probably not.
Not in a race situation, but I mean, I've done like run the Grand Canyon, run the Mantario, run Trans-Ion, which essentially is the same as an ultra, just without all the people in the way. So
right. So like, I don't know what my body's ready for, and I don't know what like pacing. So like, I looked at the results, and like the winner is going to break 8 hours, and then basically there's one guy below 8 hours, and the rest is at like 9 hours. So basically, I think the top guys are going to be at 9 hours kind of thing. And I know I'm not going to win this thing, and I know I have to respect the race, and I want to absolutely finish. So I think my goals have to be, I want to start out slow, but I don't want to start out at a pace where I'm not going to be running and it's going to be uncomfortable. So I guess my debate is, do I walk more, or do I run really, really, really slow?
Well, you have to really approach it with a different mindset than a marathon, right? Mostly because you are used to running on the treadmill, very few runs outside, lots of time on like really well-paced, easy to be consistent kind of terrain. And you're about to go into trails, and you haven't run a lot of trails. And pacing is just not consistent on the trails. So really, we almost have to take pacing and throw it out the window. The only way I would say that we could really focus on pacing is if we'd done this course a few times before, and we knew what to expect from you as far as how your body's going to react to the surfaces, the mud, the routes that you're running on, the fact that you don't have a ton of elevation, but it's going to add up. Like, you're going to have those ups and downs. You're going to have climbs of like 20 to 30 meters throughout sections of the course, which is actually quite similar to running in the white shell, just without the granite side of things. So we almost have to take that whole concept of, I'm going to run at 4:45s and say it's out the window. So let's focus instead on maybe a little bit of perceived exertion. So making it feel really easy to start the day, because how you feel at the beginning of the day is going to feel way different 12 hours later when you're 40 or 50 miles in. And then the second part of things is using heart rate. So heart rate can be a good backup as far as let's keep it easy. And we know that you're pretty comfortable kind of keeping heart rate sort of that 120, 130, 135 range and going all day on the treadmill. And it's still going to spike up a little bit here and there. And there might be a few moments when you want to pick up and do some little exertions, but we really want to keep you controlled and aerobic, because it's going to be
so what would be kind of a limit to aerobic for a guy like me? I'm 41 years old. What would be, what's
heart rate wise? Everyone's really different. I mean, when we start looking at some of your results and your profiles, I know that, up to about 140, 145, you're pretty controlled and aerobic. And I start to see a little bit more heart rate drift from you when we get into that 150s range. So knowing that, if we're keeping things probably sub 145, you're in a good place. However, knowing that, this isn't a 2-hour treadmill run, this is a 12-hour around there. trail run, if we can start off with it even lower than that, and know that, as the day goes on, no matter how much food you put in, no matter how much hydration you put in, you're going to come out a little bit depleted, and heart rate's going to go up because of that. We got to start on the low end. So I would say if we stay in that 130s early in the day.
Okay, so stay in the 130s, and that means that if the terrain or the incline or the elevation is pushing me above that, then because with my pace I can just slow down. But if it's more than that, if it's like elevation, terrain, whatever is causing me to exert myself more, then I guess I just walk more. That would be the solution, or what?
Yeah. Walking is not unheard of, even at the highest levels, right? You get steep enough hills where it's just going to grind those muscles to a certain point, or especially downhills, which tend to tear apart the muscles a bit. And over, 12 hours, it compounds. So what may feel great in that first hour is not going to feel great in that last hour. Once you have to do that last 5 miles from the last aid station, it's going to be tough. And ideally, you're still feeling good and still moving well. And at that point, you've seen the course 3 times, so we can take some chances and go a little bit harder. But we need to start off that first lap pretty conservatively, and be willing to do a little bit of walk, run, or power hiking, just to keep these controlled.
Okay, so I'm going to take it slow. I was kind of thinking of like walking, I don't know, every 10, 15, 20 minutes, I don't know, half a minute or a minute or something like that. Does that make sense?
Well, walking will coordinate well with putting nutrition in. From the standpoint that you've got your 9 aid stations out there, 10 aid stations, because you're going to have that bonus aid station early on. So you're going to be walking through the aid stations. Take the time to put the water in, put the food in. You're not going to treat it like a triathlon, like a short distance triathlon, where you're going to blow through it and throw a cup, or a marathon like that. So you've got some time like that built in, but knowing that those aid stations are all 5 to 6 miles apart, you're going to really have to be sure that we throw in some time for nutrition, hydration in between those aid stations. Because arguably those 5 to 6 miles are going to take you, depending on the section of the course you're on, hour to an hour and a half to get through. So you can't just wait, an hour and a half till you put water and food in the next time. So planning on, a couple of walk breaks in there. So if we kind of go like at least every 30 minutes, walk for a minute, put some food in, drink from your backpack, and then you keep going, right?
Okay. And then should I like force myself to walk more than I need it in that first kind of 2-3 hours? Like if I'm feeling okay, should I still like say walk regardless every half hour or something like that?
If you've got a controlled heart rate and you're feeling good, I would say just keep jogging along. But if you're pushing a limit, you're gonna have to slow yourself down at some point. Otherwise, your body's just gonna tell you that last loop.
Okay. And I think it's a good idea to just use, if it's 30 minutes, if it's like hydration or nutrition, to use that as a period of break, right? Like you're walking, you're drinking, you're eating, and then I'm slowly getting going again. Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll force you, because you're going to need to have a pretty strict nutrition plan here too, right?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, actually. So that's kind of the 3 things I want to cover: was footwear, pace and receive RPE, I guess. I was talking to Joel this morning. He kind of told me the same thing. He told me, don't throw your heart rate out the window, but like focus more on how you feel. Like use your heart rate as a backup, because really you should be focusing on how you feel.
Yeah.
But the problem is
today.
So the one concern I have is I'm not like, I've never really gone that far. So how would I guess I could use how I felt in the Ironman in like, because that was 14 hours. How does the body feel, and could I keep going, and kind of like the heart rate / rate of perceived exertion there, and then just kind of listen to my body with respect to the walking, right?
Yeah. Well, think about all the training you've done at this point, and we've been stacking some bigger weekends. We've got 3 to 4 days of fairly heavy mileage that's come out to in the range of 60 to 70 kilometers over those 3 to 4 days. So you get to the point where there's going to be some fatigue, and you've had a few workouts where it's pretty tough, and you start to feel like there's that compounding. You need to back off a little bit, or you know what it really feels like, or as you're approaching that tough feeling. So using that as a bit of backup as well, like knowing when your body's kind of getting there. But if we go into this race knowing that you're starting fairly conservatively and really staying on top of hydration and nutrition, then we should be in a fairly good place.
Okay.
You've got lots of willpower and lots of endurance.
Thanks. So what should I be doing for nutrition and hydration then? That's kind of the third piece that I wanted to discuss.
So that's going to be obviously the big one. It's going to come down to a little bit of choice for you with regards to you're only going to be able to carry so much for 50 miles. However, they're going to have some very well looked after aid stations. We've got hot and cold options. So depending on the weather you get, and you're looking at aid stations that are fully manned about every 5 to 6 miles. So there's going to be lots of options there. And the pacing that you're doing, because it's so far back off an Ironman or a marathon, you can eat a lot more variety than you would in one of those races. So you're not restricted just to hammering gels or sport drink or something like that. With that said, though, the more pacing you want to do and the more competitive you want to be and the more you want to like push things towards that last lap, if we start putting in higher fiber things that are taking a little bit more energy to digest, or, slapping butter all over that waffle or something like that and throwing that higher fat or higher protein in, then we're going to probably have some issues. So going back to whenever we talked and planned around your Ironman, our goal was always to get roughly about a bottle in per hour on the bike. So translating that into a hydration pack, you're looking at probably about 2 to 3 cups per hour. So if you're carrying a hydration pack that is going to be sort of 1 to 1.5 liters, you're filling that basically every aid station to try and get through it. I wouldn't go with much of a bigger pack, because then it just means that you're carrying more water up and down, and that's just a pain in the butt. It just flops around your back a little bit. But that 1 to 1.5 will probably be that sweet spot, and you look to basically fill it every aid station with water. On top of that, hydration packs are going to have lots of spots for food, whether or not you've got some sport bars or some gels or some chews, but a little bit of variety, just because it's going to be a long day with the same kind of food.
And do you know what food they'll have? I looked on the website and I couldn't.
They have advertised hot and cold Texas hospitality. So I don't know. I would suspect that there will be some pastry type stuff, some sandwiches type stuff, some soups, probably some hot and cold beverages. But beyond that, it is a bit of a mystery. And without having a direct line to the race director, and even the race director might not know at this point. So we don't know for sure. I would back it up with having gels, especially extra gels in your drop bag that you can leave at that the dam aid station, as well as chews and bars that are just easy to carry, or some things that are like calorie dense. Like if you have a treat or a chocolate bar that you really love, I would throw a couple of those in there, because it's going to be a long day. And at some point you're going to walk and you're just going to have a craving, whatever that is. So sour candies or peanuts, or it doesn't matter, right? Like I was talking to Travis earlier today, and Travis said, got to have my Snickers bar, my special needs. I'm like, it's going to be great as long as it's not a hot day. So
I was just looking at the 14-day weather, and I mean, it's 14 days. It's 12 days out or whatever, but the high looks like manageable, like a 17, 18 degree high.
Yeah. And even that'll be a little bit warm height of the day. But I mean, considering what we're coming from at minus 25, minus 30 right now, it's going to feel warm.
Yeah. And it won't be Des Moines.
No, no, not that kind of warm.
Okay. So then so I know that I can eat Cliff bars, and I've eaten a million of those in my career. And I even eat them I've been practicing with them for my 26 milers on Saturdays. I've been doing usually 3 Cliff bars just because I wanted to practice, and I do it while I'm jogging. I haven't been slowing down, so I'll do like a small piece at a time. But Like, is that a bad idea to have Cliff Bars? And just worst case, if there's nothing on the first loop, I was thinking I can just carry 2 or 3 of them for the second loop and another 2 or 3 of them for the third loop, is what I was thinking. Is that ridiculous?
Nope, I think that works really well. I mean, the Cliff Bars have worked well for you all the way through. They're easy to transport. They're not going to freeze on you or get gooey or get all over your hands. Easy to leave them in your drop bag for that second aid station. And yeah, just easy to carry and very accessible. So Cliff Bars are excellent. Gels are probably the second one. And then the third thing I would go with is something that just is that treat. That's something that appeals to you. And with the gels, I mean, caffeinated might be an option for a little later in the day if you're starting to feel a little bit fuzzy.
Yeah, they'll probably have caffeinated gels, I would imagine, right?
I would think so, but it's tough to know when they're not.
Yeah, I'll bring some. I'll bring some gel. I'll bring some of both. I'll bring the non-caffeinated for my first 2 loops, and then I'll bring some for the last couple hours or whatever. I'll bring some caffeinated gels. How late?
Go ahead.
Sorry, how early would you say is kind of, because I don't drink coffee. I don't do caffeine. I had a phenomenal rush when I did some at the Ironman in Des Moines. I did some caffeine. It was just awesome. Yeah. How early is too early to get on the caffeine train, the caffeine gel train?
If you're not a normal coffee drinker and you tend to wake up without too many issues, I would probably delay it a little bit to late morning, early afternoon. And, just when you start to kind of get those first little lulls of the day, and then try and keep it contained to that area, because you've got that half-life of like 4 to 6 hours for caffeine. And if you're that sensitive to it, you don't want it hanging into your evening, because you want to be able to finish this thing and sleep and recover. So I wouldn't go too much past maybe 3 p.m., somewhere around there, to give it time to get through your system as well. Unless you're desperate, in which case you go with what you need. So
right. Okay. And then, so for hydration, then I'm carrying the pack. I'm drinking at the aid stations, and then I'm filling it again. How do they do this normally? Do they have like someone filling it for you, or is it like
it'll be a self-serve, most likely.
Like a pump kind of thing?
They will probably have something along those lines. Yeah. I do not know if there's running water at those aid stations, like if you're going to a spigot type thing and filling. But what I would practice at your house is with your running vest, being able to take it off quick, find where the opening is, fill it up, get it closed, and keep it going. So it's not going to be a bunch of fumbling on race day. What you're not going to have at the race is I think you're traveling with one person.
Actually, I got 4 buddies coming with me.
Oh, okay. If you have 4 buddies, then you're going to have some help in a few places, because you can have friends at any of the aid stations and they can travel around a little bit. So getting some of them trained up well to be able to do that stuff for you. So you can kind of come in, they can have a chair open for you. You can sit down for a minute if you need it. They can fill your water, feed you some food, rub your feet down, apply lube if you need it, wipe the sweat off your brow, give you a hug, and then send you on your way.
That's what they have to do, because I'm paying for them to come down with me, so they have to do this, right? It's part of their job, right?
It's what you need. It's what you want, yeah. But the fact that they're allowed on the course, and I mean, they can even be, I think there's a certain point on the course where you're allowed to have pacers as well.
I think it's 5 p.m., is it?
Oh, pacers are allowed after 5 p.m. unless you're older than 60. So yeah, you're going to have to wait till 5 p.m. But, so if you've got someone there that you want to have on the run with you, even if it's just a short section, someone can come out there with you and run a bit. So
should I be kind of doing like the Ironman, where about half and half Gatorade and water is kind of what I was doing at the Ironman? Or
with the hydration pack, I wouldn't put any Gatorade in that. I would keep it just straight up water. If you wanted to start mixing anything else, I would look for the collapsible flasks that you can usually put in the front of the vests, and you can get about 500 milliliters in those. They're okay, but it means you're regularly remixing them. My strategy is usually to mix something denser that gives you more caloric bang for your buck than a Gatorade. So something like a Scratch Super Fuel, where you can get 100 grams of carbs per bottle roughly. And if you have a 500 milligram, you get, a good bang for your buck in there that you can sort of spread out.
Is that are you mixing those, or is that you buy that?
The Scratch Super Fuel is a powder you buy and you mix on your own to the concentration you want.
Okay. So you would pre-mix like bottles, and then you would kind of take them at the turn?
I would pre-mix the liquid and then have my boys that are traveling down with you have it available at the aid stations for you when you want it, and then put it in collapsible flasks that you can stick into usually the front pockets of your running vest. Okay. And then you can drink it when you want it, but you still have the water coming off your back.
So you're saying I should probably buy a running vest?
Well, you've been doing a lot of treadmill runs, and obviously we can't do much running vest work right now, simply because it would freeze stall. As your brother has found out, trying to get ready for Frozen Falcon, it's just like, nope, it's got to be an insulated bottle inside a backpack. So running vest, give me one moment, I'll show you one.
I have like a running belt, but I think I'd rather wear a vest than a belt.
So running vest. Got a little space in the backpack. So if you need to throw something like a headlamp in, or an extra layer or something like that. And then inside the vest, there's usually going to be your bladder. So knowing how you get the bladder out quick and how to open it so the guys can fill it with water fast, closing it up, and you're back on your run again. And I'm out of practice because I haven't done any ultras in the last time. There we go.
Yeah, I gotta have to practice this. Yeah. It's kind of like at the Ironman where I'd never drank from a bottle on a bike, and then you're like, Rob, you kind of need to practice this. Like, you kind of need to be able to drink from a bike.
Yeah, well, you just kind of jumped in off the deep end, so we're learning as we go, but that's okay.
Okay, so if I'm pre-mixing that, then those would be in the collapsible front. Otherwise, they're probably gonna have some Gatorade and whatever if I choose to go that route.
Yeah. So these pockets here is where I would stuff my flasks with liquid, and I get up to 500 mils in there. And then the product I usually use is either the Scratch Super Fuel, or I use a product from Hammer called Perpetuum, which is a little heavier duty and made for super ultra distance stuff. So. Okay.
So, all right. So I think I know what I'm doing for hydration. And you said, what about a liter? What was it? A liter every?
Between aid stations, I'd be looking 1 to 1.5 liters.
1 to 1.5.
That's going to be about the size of your hydration pack. And basically, I mean, if you're thinking you're going to be on those, like between those aid stations, between an hour and an hour and a half, that's just small sips every 10, 15 minutes. So just a mouthful, and it goes pretty quick.
Right. Okay. So I think I know what I got to do there. That's kind of the stuff that I was really worried about, but I'm sure you're going to tell me, or maybe you don't, but any other things that I should worry or consider or haven't thought of, or?
Yep. If you're getting to a high of 17 for the day, you're going to be changing layers throughout the day. So probably taking things off, putting them on. It does look like a fairly sheltered area. So we're probably considering not being too considerate about wind. But having those kind of layers there, depending on what the early morning temperatures do, we might consider headgear and stuff on hands. But I think legs will probably be okay. Depending on how late you're on the course, we're thinking of possibly headlamp. But that is something you might not have to carry, because you might be able to get your support crew to just sort of bring that out at a certain time. And if you're there a couple of days beforehand, you'll know what time it starts getting a little dusky, because you'll want to have a really good line of sight on those routes and that sort of thing. Planning out drop bags. So thinking about what you want in those drop bags and where you're going to put them. If you do get rain, are you going to just run it out and get wet, or are you going to carry some light rain gear? There's nothing on the website about that, but certainly we know that we can get some surprise weather anytime.
Sorry, there's nothing on the website with respect to like you being allowed or not allowed to carry rain gear. Is that what you're talking about?
Nothing on the website with regards to talking about expectation of rain or wet or what those conditions, what it can do to the conditions. Right. But that would certainly be a consideration. So obviously, if you have a long wet day, it's going to change your temperature a whole lot. That also said, having an extra set of clothes and as we've already talked about, extra shoes. Because if you're soaking wet for the day and you come around a lap, you might be very happy to see some warm, dry stuff. Towels, extra lube that you'll carry with you. Sometimes people get really parched or sunburnt, so you might want some sunscreen, hat to cover the face, all those just tiny little things. And then chances are, your loops aren't super far apart, but there's that consideration of having a little bit of first aid stuff around, whether it's just, a Band-Aid, a roll of tape, something like that. I mean, when I've done ultras, they've always been completely unsupported and long distance stuff. Whereas you've got, if you can drag yourself in 5 miles, plus you've got lots of people on the course, it might not be too much of consideration. But I've always erred to that, throw a roll of tape in if you ended to tape up a gash or something like that, or because if there's enough roots there, chances of slipping and falling go up. But I wouldn't go overboard with something like that. So, and then if you're really having fun, carry that phone and take some pictures.
I was gonna leave my phone in the car, but I guess, or at home, but I guess, yeah, I'll take some pictures. I guess I gotta be focused on at least for the first loop. I gotta make sure I'm like aware of where I'm running, and I gotta watch my footing and stuff, because I think Joel was mentioning that you can get into a daze and you just run and you're running blindly and you're thinking about something else. The next thing you know, you trip on a route or something, right?
You know what? Even the best of runners, even if you're totally focused, you're going to trip on a route at some point. Like you're going to go down. You're going to have some scrapes and bruises and bumps. That's just
really. You think I'm going to go down?
Oh, you are going to go down.
100%.
100%.
Wow.
It might not be bad, but yeah, at some point your hands are going to hit the ground, your knees are going to hit the ground. That's the way it is. Like there's enough roots out there and enough uneven terrain that
Like I would have believed you if you'd have said you're going to go down on the bike, because I was terrible on the bike. But I feel like I'm decent on my feet.
12 hours does some funky things, and those trails.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, if we get a little bit of dampness in there and it gets a little slippery, the chances just go up. But dewy, wet roots in the early morning. Oh yeah, you're biting it early. So those were the things on my list. The one other consideration is knowing you've got 4 guys down there. You're allowed to take like ice chests and stuff like that on the course. So if you want, if it's looking like a warmer day and you want, I don't know, cool beverages for the boys, you can have them. If you want to set up a little like campsite almost, the only thing you can't have is enclosed tents at the start-finish area, but they can be ripping around the course, carrying chairs and all kinds of stuff for you. So, I mean, I'm not going to say just 80K or just 50 miles, but 50 miler is way different than 100 miler. So you might not need as much of that, but at the same time, better to be prepared if you've got a good crew there. So
I feel like it's going to be comparable to the Ironman in terms of like required effort for the day, something like that, right? It's different, obviously, but it's going to be long, grueling, and like not all out at all times. So it's it's the mental game, it's all that fun stuff, right?
Yeah, it's steady, just keep moving, fine, play your mental games, whatever you need to do in your head. I don't know what the rules are on music, but I know that some people, late in a day like that, the AirPod goes in and they just go. So last time I did the Grand Canyon, the phone turned on and I listened to music climbing back out. But by that point, there was nobody on the trail, so I had the whole trail to myself. But
how long did that take you? How long was that?
Grand Canyon, first time we did it was with spouses, and that was about a 16-hour day. The second time we went through it, we were about 12 hours total, but that was with a little bit of waiting. So
are you saying that your spouse slowed you down? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying it was more like a family and friends trip as opposed to a what can you really do on this? So both times I've done it has been fun and with friends, but I could have gone, there was a little bit left in the tank. So, but good fun trip. So,
okay. Well, I feel a lot better. I think like just knowing this stuff. It's all stuff that I hadn't really thought of, and I just kind of signed up for this and just thought, yeah, it's kind of like the Ironman. I just signed up. I thought I could do it. And then when we got like a week or two out, I was like, okay, whoa, there's a lot of like, I remember when I saw the bags, all the colors of the bags, and I was like freaking out about all the things I didn't know. The Ironman is like overwhelming with the amount of stuff that you have to, but I feel like this will be more chill, I think.
Yeah. The general atmosphere around trail races is much more relaxed. Ironman just brings out a certain breed of people where they're a little bit hyper competitive and more type A people because, yeah, you do have a lot of gear and there's a lot involved in it. And it's a big trademark and brand. And you get all these people that are looking for Kona spots, or this year it'll be spots to go to Nice. Whereas trail races are really people just looking to accomplish something and feel fulfilled and be out in the wilderness and running on trails. So a little bit more relaxed and enjoyable. And I think you'll see a really different scene. And that's also one of the reasons why it's kind of like you got to drop a little bit the marathon mentality from the standpoint that, yeah, you can use that fitness, but we can't look at it from a pacing standpoint or from a competition standpoint. It's more just, hey, we're just going to go out. We're going to start this pretty slow. We're going to make sure we eat plenty, really enjoy the day, and just find our inner well-being by the end of it.
It's more the trail runners are more like Wolseley, and the Ironmanners are more like Transcona. No,
possibly. Yeah. See, I know a lot of Ironman people that are River Heights, but yeah, definitely the chill Wolseley type. You find, maybe the St. Boniface group, or some of them the St. Boniface, but
okay.
So.
Okay, good. So I'm pretty excited to be kind of over my taper. I feel really, really good about that. Like I think my, the hay's in the barn, and I'm excited about what I got left, but I'm really excited about next weekend. That's what I'm jacked about, which is so like, this is so fun, right? Like these races, it's a blast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kudos to you for jumping into a race like this at this time of year. I mean, just knowing what we've had to face with training through the winter hasn't been ideal. And I mean, certainly these last couple of weeks has been a little bit chillier and cooler around here. And, far from ideal as far as being able to get on anything that would resemble what you're going to see down in Texas. So you got some good challenges ahead of you, but I think you'll do super.
Right on. Okay, well, thanks. I appreciate it. If I have anything, I'll send you a text or whatever. And if I really need to chat, I'll reach out before race day again. But I feel good.
Okay, definitely. Always available to chat or answer whatever questions you have.
If you want to reach out to Patrick for inquiries about coaching, what would it be again? What is it? It's Patrick Peacock at
Peacock at shaw.ca.
Peacock at shaw.ca. I'll put it in the banner for the viewers on the edit. But thanks, Patrick. Phenomenal coach. You've taken me anyways where I wanted to go and got me to qualify for Boston and built a plan that was going to get me there. And now you're working with my brother and you're working with Trav, and it's neat to have you in our corner. So thank you for the coaching, and thank you for coming on here today and sharing.
Well, thank you very much. Glad to be a part of things. And this is quite the exciting journey. I'm looking forward to not only the Rocky, but what we've got planned for the rest of the season.
Oh, it's exciting. I'll bring you on again. I'll bring you on the show again to talk about some other stuff. But thanks for taking the time, Patrick.
All right. Thanks very much. Take care, Rob.
Well, that was really neat. Really, really fun, exciting. Hopefully for you guys. For me, it gives me a lot to think about with respect to my race. I guess leave the alphas at home. Leave the alpha flies at home. Buy a hydration pack. I was going to just do a hydration belt, but I guess I need a hydration pack. I was going to do just like my belt with, I think it's got 500 milliliters on it, but I'll follow his advice because he's never steered me wrong. Nutrition, I got to plan that. And then I guess all those other things I had not thought of, like Band-Aids and tape and slipping. He says I'm going to fall. I feel like taking him up on that bet. I'll ask my brother, Charlie, what he thinks, but I feel like betting that I won't fall. Is that a ridiculous bet? If you have comments, please share them below. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Let me know what you thought of Patrick. If you'd like to reach out to Patrick, we shared his information earlier on. And again, guys, take a sec, subscribe, like, follow, press the bell smash the bell so that you know when we're producing new content and it's being released. And by all means, tell your friends, tell your family about us, and tell them about runwithrob.com. Go to the website if you haven't seen yet, runwithrob.com. I'm looking for people to run with me. Thank you, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Cheers.